Shalom, Israel. My name is SHAMAR to my left.
Yatazar Yah.
My brother. We are going to be going into Samson tonight. Samson, the judge. Or Samson, the very strong. We're going to start off in Judges chapter 13 and verse 1.
It's the book of Judges, chapter 13 and verse 1. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years.
So if you haven't read Judges, you're going to read that verse a lot. Children of Israel continually did evil in the sight of the Most High. Every time the Most High would put us in captivity, we would cry unto the Most High, and he would have compassion unto us, deliver us, only for us to start doing wickedly again. And it happened repeatedly. Go ahead.
And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not.
So his wife couldn't have children at that time. Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son.
So he said, you haven't been able to have a child thus far, but you're about to. Go ahead.
Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. Mm-hmm. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto Yahweh from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
So the wine or strong drink, eating of any unclean thing, he's talking about the vow of the Nazarite. So he said, look, even from the womb, Samson is going to be a Nazarite. So even while you're pregnant, you have a responsibility not to partake of these things, because this can never be in him. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of the Most High came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. Mm-hmm. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine, nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing. For the child shall be a Nazarite of the Most High from the womb to the day of his death.
So she was explaining to her husband, she was like, man, I saw this man. He had a real fierce countenance. He had a powerful look to him. She said, I didn't ask him what he was, and he didn't tell me his name, but there was something different about this man, and this is what he told me. Go ahead.
Then Manoah entreated the Lord and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send me again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. Mm-hmm. And the Most High hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of the Most High came again unto the woman as she sat in the field, but Manoah, her husband, was not with her. Uh-huh. And the woman made haste and ran and showed her husband and said unto him, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife, and came to the man and said unto him, Art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. Mm-hmm. And Manoah said, Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. Mm-hmm. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine, nor strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe.
Again, that's referencing the vow of the Nazarite. So those are the rules and stipulations. They said for Samson, in order for him to be a Nazarite from his womb, you have to take on those things and do them until he's born and obviously able to take over himself. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. Mm-hmm. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? Uh-huh. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret?
So In this,
it is okay. Yeah,
seeing it is secret. So, the wife went and got her husband. They go back to the angel, and now they're conversing with him. And he was like, "Look, just stay with us a little while. We'll make you dinner. Have dinner with us." He said, "Okay, I'll stay with you guys, but I'm not gonna eat." And then he said, "Okay, just tell me your name." He said, "Look, man." It was kind of one of those things where it seemed as though he leveled with him, like, "You already know this is a secret," because he said, "Seeing it is a secret. If I wanted you to know my name, you would have already known it."
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 19. So Manoah took a kid with the meat offering and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked on it and fell on their faces to the ground.
So that angel literally ascended with the fire, and it was like, man, like, who was this or what was this? That this man stepped in fire and just ascended into heaven. So they obviously knew he was a heavenly body. Go ahead.
Verse 21. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. Mm-hmm. And Manoah said unto his wife, "We shall surely die, because we have seen God." But his wife said unto him, "If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would, as at this time, have told us such things as these."
So Manoah was shook. He was like, man, we must have messed up. Because that's a very powerful thing to have happen to you, to converse with an angel face to face like that. But his wife was like, look, if the Most High was displeased with us or sent this man here to kill us, he would have already done that. Even more so, why would he have accepted a gift? So she was explaining that to him. Verse 24.
Verse 24. And the woman bare a son and called his name Samson.
And she had Samson. So this is where Samson comes from. Go ahead.
And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Eshtaol? That's it
I believe so. Eshtaol. Khan. Go ahead. Verse 14, chapter 14, verse 1.
Chapter 14, verse 1. And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, "I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife." So
Samson is already, he's obviously older in his life because he's seeking after women. He wants himself a wife. So he looks and he sees a daughter of the Philistines. Go ahead.
Then his father and his mother said unto him, "Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine?" Mm-hmm. And Samson said unto his father, "Get her for me, for she pleases me well." Mm-hmm. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
So his father and his mother tried to counsel him. They're like, look, because obviously they knew the law. And that goes to show the laws were still in place. Because obviously, even though there were wicked of Israel, that doesn't mean the law was completely erased from Israel. So his parents were pleading with him like, man, you don't like none of the women or the daughters of Zion? You don't have no interest in nobody else? But at the end of the day, the Most High said, I'm seeking an occasion. The Most High said, I'm going to use this to be to offer this opportunity for deliverance for Israel through Samson. Go ahead.
Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid.
So Samson was incredibly powerful.
God.
First and foremost, he was very brave. A lion roars against him. Most men would run. You try to figure something out. If nothing else, you're going to try to fight it with a weapon. Samson grabbed it and ripped it apart. Bare hands. Go ahead.
And he had nothing in his hand.
Nothing in his hand. He grabbed it. Go ahead.
But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well.
It said he told not his father or his mother. So Samson was like a superhero with a what do they call it? A secret identity. He go back home, he just Samson, but he knows this power is in him. Go ahead.
And after a time he returned to take her. He turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. For so used the young men to do.
Yeah, so he's saying that the young men used to have feasts. They would basically host little get-togethers, and they would come together. Go ahead.
God. And it came to pass when they saw him that they brought 30 companions to be with them. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If ye can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments.
So Samson, him and his boys pretty much got together. They all young men. They want to sitting around chilling. They want to have a little fun. So they're like, look, I got a riddle. Who's willing to bet? If you get it right, whoever it is, I'll give you 30 garments and what do you say, 30 cloth,
sheets.
30
Yep.
sheets of cloth. So, that was a big bet. That was a big wager. Go ahead.
But if ye cannot declare it me, then shall ye give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. And they said unto him, pull forth thy riddle that we may hear it.
Okay.
And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that we have? Is it not so?
So that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
They was like, look,
Burning
they didn't made the bet, and now they're like, okay, it's been 3 days. We're already almost halfway through with the time to be able to expound this riddle. So they went to his wife and they said, man, basically they used his wife to get to him. And they was like, you need to press upon him, and when he gives you the answer, come and give it to us. Otherwise, obviously, like they just said, we're going to kill you. Go ahead.
And Samson's wife wept before him and said, Thou doest but hate me and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people and hast not told it me. And he said unto her, behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee?
So Samson doesn't even know he's being set up.
Right.
She didn't say, I need help. She didn't say, but mind you, one of the things that I kind of draw from that is she said the children of my people.
Right.
So he was hanging out with, obviously, who? The Philistines. So she not turning on them being her people, she turned on Samson first.
Right.
Go ahead.
And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she... Did I skip something?
No.
Okay, so all right, from the top. And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people.
So she cried. She was just crying. And no matter how strong of a man you are, you're going to have an affinity for women, because the Most High said it's not good for man to be alone. So she's crying and begging him, and he like, look, oh my God. On the 7th day, every day she crying, he was like, look, this is the answer. Just take it. Go ahead.
And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house.
So obviously Samson realized he had been cheated. He like, okay, it's been 7 days. You can put two and two together. It's been 7 days. I ain't had come up with nothing. Suddenly I tell my wife, hour later, you come to me with the answer, the exact answer.
Right.
And he was like, okay, clearly I already see what's happening. So he got frustrated. He went, just killed 30 of them, and took what they had. Go ahead.
But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend.
So,
Yeah, come on.
So I was, no problem. So his wife, obviously, they didn't divorce. She ended up leaving him. So after all that, she betrays him, then leaves him with a man that it says used to be his friend. So, man, it be in your own circle. Go ahead.
Chapter 15, verse 1. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go into my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou had utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. Mm-hmm. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes and took firebrands and turned tail to tail and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails.
So obviously he was frustrated about that situation. The father-in-law tried to explain it, but Samson was like, that's not even how this is supposed to go. So in his anger, he took foxes, tied them together, and put fire on their tails. So just like, what's that game? Tug of war. You know, it's going this way, it's going that way. Sometimes I'm going to win, sometimes you're going to win. He tied the foxes, so obviously as they going back and forth, they're spreading fire. Go ahead.
Where we at? Verse 5?
Kind of.
Verse 5. And we had set the brands on fire. He let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and the olives. Then the Philistines said, who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistine came up and burnt her and her father with fire.
So the Philistines, they didn't go after Samson. They was like, look, you're the one who caused this divide. It's way easier, instead of us going to war, all of us coming against this man, or, you know, Israel versus the Philistines, whatever the case may be, they came and took the daughter and her father, and they killed them. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And Samson said unto them, though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease.
So Samson told him, he said, that's not enough. He said, even though you've already done this, I get, y'all did what you could. He said, but that's not enough. But once I do this next thing, I'll be all right. Go ahead.
And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. And he went down and dwelt in the top of the rocky throne. And then the Philistine went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Lehi. Mm-hmm. And the men of Judah said, why are ye come up against us? And they answered, to bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us.
So now they was tired of it. They tried to go up against Samson, but look how many people they sent. Go ahead.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rocky tomb and said to Samson, knowest thou not the Philistines are rulers over us?
So it was 3,000 men just to go have a conversation with him, because obviously they went to go press him. They was like, look, what are you doing? The Philistines rule over us. Yeah, you big, bad, and strong, but, you know, obviously some of us have jobs, some of us got business relationships. You gonna mess it up. You gonna mess it up for all of us. So they went and spoke with Samson, 3,000 of them. Go ahead.
What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
So he like, I'm just getting my revenge. It was only right that I moved this way. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves.
So they talked to him. They was 3,000 deep. They said, look, Samson, you messing stuff up for all of us. It's going to be easier for us to give you up than for our entire nation to go to war with these Philistines because they rule over us. So Samson was like, okay, I'm going to go quietly. I'm going to go peacefully. Just swear unto me that none of you are going to be the ones to try to kill me. None of you are going to fall upon me. Because obviously he already knew what was going to happen. And he planned out. He said, okay, they're going to deliver me right into their hands. I'm going to be able to get to them. He said, just make sure he just didn't want to have to kill any of his people. He said, just make sure it ain't none of y'all to do it. If you can promise me that, I'll go quietly. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords and brought him up from the rock.
So they was like, nah, man, we don't want no problems, but we don't want no problems from you, but we also don't want no problems from them. So they put two cords around him, and they went to go deliver him up. Go ahead.
And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became a flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loose from off his hands.
So he snapped it. He snapped it like it was nothing. And the Spirit of the Most High came upon him. Snapped it like it was nothing because he already knew what time it was. He was being delivered into their hands. Go ahead.
And he found a new jawbone of an ass and put forth his hand and took it and slew 1,000 men therewith.
The jawbone of an ass. He didn't have a javelin with, a spear. He didn't have the sharpest sword.
No.
He didn't. Malachi, can you switch to the PowerPoint? Or switch to the computer? That's the jawbone of a donkey.
Man.
Swinging that, wow, just one shot, one kill, swinging that at least 1,000 times in that day. Killed 1,000 men just with that bone.
Yeah, that's damage.
That brother was powerful. He didn't take no stuff. So you can bring it back to us. So I just think that's always fascinating because, the scriptures. Well, matter of fact, let's continue on before we get to that. Go ahead, verse 16.
And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men.
1,000 men. He said heaps upon heaps. A heap is like a pile of bodies. He was just pop, 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 laying them out, leaving them piled upon each other. He said heaps upon heaps. I've slain 1,000. Go ahead.
And it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand and called that place Ramoth-Lehi.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sore athirst and called on the Lord and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But the Most High clave and hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof in Hakori, which in Lehi unto this day, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
So after he had killed all those people, he was thirsty, and he called upon the Most High. He was like, look, I done defeated 1,000 men. He said, now am I really going to die of thirst and fall into their hands because I'm thirsty? So the Most High hollowed out a place with the jaw and gave him water. Start at the top of chapter 16.
Chapter 16, verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went into her.
So one thing I will say is, and we were just talking about this, oftentimes we have what we call a romanticized idea of the Bible. And I had the question, I'm like, man, Samson, he's a Nazarite. He's clearly not only knows the law of the Most High, but when you take the vow of the Nazarite, there's even more rules. Let's hold this real quick. Go to Numbers chapter 6. We're going to start at verse 1. So it's like, who was it, Paul, that took the vow of the Nazarite in the New Testament to prove to brothers that he was following the law of Moses when they accused him, saying, you're teaching against the law. So that's even more rules for him to take on and even more responsibility. Go ahead.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 6 and verse 1.
Actually, hold on. I want to say this before we get into it.
Con.
He took on even more responsibility, which gave me the impression like, okay, well, clearly this must be a righteous man, right? You not only abide within the laws, that's difficult enough, but you took on, or he has even more responsibility upon his shoulders. But Then you also see instances where he took the honey out of the lion. We know the law of Leviticus 11, anything that touches that unclean animal should have been unclean. And mind you, when you read that passage where it says the lion. So to me, that implies that was the same lion that he had killed. He might have triumphed with his strength, but how could I say, his lack of zeal is ultimately what was his downfall. Sure, he had strength of all men, but at the same time, how did he walk? What was his character like? So he took that honey out of the lion, knowing it was unclean, gave it to his mother and father, knowing it was unclean. Then he took a wife of the Philistines, which the Most High told us not to do. We shall not give our sons to their daughters and their daughters to our sons. So I'm like, man, why is it that Samson, being a Nazarite, being this supposed to be a very righteous man, why is he moving like this? And the reality is, he's a historical account. You don't see, I don't read, and we'll finish. This is the last chapter. This is the third chapter that talks about Samson's life. I don't see what the Most High was like. I love Samson, or he was righteous all the days of his life. It's not really. It's a historical account. Samson was a powerful man. How could you not mention a man that's killing 1,000 people in one day, or that had such a powerful purpose in Israel? But that didn't necessarily mean that he was the most upright man. And the scriptures talk about one that, he does this and he does that, but he's unprofitable unto himself. But I wanted to touch, because we read earlier, the angel told his mother and his father not to drink of anything that comes of the vine, not to eat eat anything that comes of the vine, or partake of any strong drink. We're going to read just 1 through 4. Numbers chapter 6, 1 through 4.
This is the book of Numbers chapter 6, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine, or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dry.
Actually, keep on reading. We're going to go down to verse 8.
Verse 4. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk.
So the Most High was very clear. He said, no strong drink. Don't drink even the vinegar that's coming from him. He said, I don't want you to partake of anything. No moist grapes, no dry, which is raisins. Anything that comes from a vine, don't strawberries, I believe, also come from a vine. Yeah. Do strawberries?
I think so. I couldn't give you 100%.
I won't speak too quickly on that one. I'm not entirely sure, but I know grapes definitely come from a vine. Right. That's already a big limit. That's jelly, that's jam. That's jelly, that's jam, that's wine. There were so many things that he had to be on the lookout for, even past just the law of the Most High. Read on.
Verse 5. Mm-hmm. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled, in the which he separateth himself. He separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of his hair locks of the hair of his head grow.
So the Most High said, when you take that vow of a Nazarite, on his head, your chin, your beard, that's part of your head. He said no razors to come upon, not your beard and not your hair. It's supposed to just grow until however long that vow is. But Samson, mind you, was a vow for his life. So had he lived to be an old man and died of old age, he would have had, some extraordinarily long hair, because he was never to get to cut it as a part of his vow. Go ahead.
Verse 6, all the days that he separateth himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. Mm-hmm. He shall not make himself unclean for his father, or for his mother, for his brother, or for his sister when they die, because the consecration of the Most High is upon his head.
So mind you, even as a vow of a Nazarite, that's why I said it's almost like you're an Israelite of Israelites, because we're coming out of the world. So we have to learn the law. We have to practice the law. We see there's so many unclean ingredients. You read about stuff. And I remember, just early coming to the truth. I'm like, okay, cool. Pop-Tarts. that it's the Sabbath. We can't cook anything. Cold Pop-Tart always good. Gelatin. Like what? Then it's already so much to look out for. But Samson, he had to go even further than that.
Yeah.
He's not even permitted to go to funerals. It said he's not supposed to make himself unclean. So that's why it raised the question for me. Well, if you go into that extreme, you understand this law, which means you can't even attend the funeral once your mother, he said, mother, father, sister, brother, your immediate family, the people most close to you, you're not allowed to go to their funerals. Then why would he eat out of that carcass of a lion, knowing that would make him unclean? Right?
Right.
So that's why I said, I don't necessarily see where Samson is, he's not called perfect. He's not called, like used as a righteous example to say this is how you should live, but he is there because there are still things to learn from. Even with him and the Philistine woman. Most High said, okay, he saw an occasion. Most High said, I gave no man permission to sin. When you drawn after lust, when you are drawn, you're drawn after your own lusts. But knowing that Samson was going to move like that, the Most High said, you know what, this is an opportunity. I'm going to make this play in Israel's favor. But that doesn't mean that unlawful marriage or that marriage of, an Israelite and a heathen was supposed to have taken place. It says all the days of his separation, he is holy unto the Lord. So he's supposed to be set apart. Let's go back to Judges. Where do we finish off in Judges?
Let me see.
Actually, I think we started at verse 1.
16, right?
Yeah, 16 and 1.
Con, this book of Judges, chapter 16, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went in unto her.
And that's another thing. Land with harlots. That's why I said that's not even lawful for, for lack of a better word, a normal Israelite, let alone a Nazarite. So Samson wasn't always necessarily the most upright. Go ahead.
And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them.
It said, so they was plotting to kill him. They was going to kill him in the morning. Midnight, Samson wakes up, tears the gates off the wall. Said bar and all. Bar and all. Took him upon his shoulders. Now he walking. And then what did he do? Last of verse 3. And carried them up to the top of the hill that is before Hebron. So even more so, not only did he tear off those gates, but he walked uphill with them. I'm like, that brother was crazy strong. And that just goes to show, the Most High said, I'm not. The Most High said, I don't need the strong or the swift or the mighty. Said it's by that righteousness. Samson, look how powerful he was. Everything points to he should be a great man to the Most High, because look at his strength. Look at even his drive. He's not always necessarily the right, but when he was defrauded, he wouldn't handle that. Most people would call that admirable, but the Most High was like, but look at his character. Making himself unclean. He hanging and marrying the Philistines. He's laying with harlots. It paints a different picture. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Uh-huh. And the lords of the Philistines came upon her and said unto her, entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver.
So once again, here come the setup.
Yeah, right.
This just adds to the plethora of reasons why the Most High said, "Marry of your own nation." Because who was these women's loyalty to? They was always gonna choose their people before they chose their husband, because they not moving like Israelite women. They don't have this law, and they don't have that same morality or principle. So they said, "Look, the setup. You tell it. All you got to do, have a conversation with them, get them comfortable, get them relaxed, and once we figure out what it is." Each one of us is going to pay you 1,100 pieces of silver. So she was going to be balling.
Right.
Hella money. It said each one of us. I don't even think did it give a number as to how many came? It just said, and the Lord's. Could have been 50 men.
God.
You know what I'm saying? So she's looking at a come up, but she has to betray Samson to get it. Go ahead.
Verse 6, and Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee.
So for one, not even smooth. She said, wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict. If someone was trying to kill you, how could they, like, not even smooth, but go ahead.
And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dry, then shall I be weak and be as another man.
Uh-huh.
Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs, which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber.
So I don't know if
Boy, oh boy.
I don't know if this is just my mind, but I always thought to myself, I'm like, man, why is Samson? First and foremost, he was smart enough to not give up his actual weakness. Yeah. He was smart enough and wise enough to not give up what was actually going to harm him. But I was like, why would he even allow himself to?
This,
yeah, I'm like, why would he even allow himself to be tied up? But remember, first and foremost, this is a woman. But where did it say that they were?
Well, verse 9. What was that?
Con. Start at verse 9.
Verse 9. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withs as the thread of tow is broken when it touches the fire. So his strength was not known.
Did I paint that picture enough? Why he would allow himself to be tied up?
Yeah, let me see.
They was in the chamber.
Yeah.
Need I say more? So she's enticing him, trying to figure out what it is that he can be tied up with to take away his strength. Go ahead.
God. And he said unto her, if they bind me, if they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak.
You skip verse 10.
Verse 10, Salakia. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound.
So she was like, man, why did you do this to me? So she's obviously playing her role. She already know it's money at stake. She's finna do whatever she got to do because it ain't no telling how much money's on the line, but 1,100 pieces of silver alone is a lot, let alone to be receiving it for who knows how many people. Go ahead.
Verse 11, and he said unto her, if they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be another man.
So he gave her one more. He said, okay, ropes that they've never been used for anything else, they'll bind me. Go ahead.
Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars in wait abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread.
So he snapped them ropes. He was already ready. Go ahead.
And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web.
So, mind you, some of these times, obviously, they weren't going to all be that same situation. Some of those times, he clearly was just asleep. And she got up in the middle of the night, she tied him up, tried to, set him up. So there were people who were waiting in that room. She tied him, expecting that to really be his weakness. He'd snap it off and he'd take care of that situation. So now she's like, man, you did it again. So he said, okay, you weave my hair. Go ahead.
And she fastened it with the pin and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. And she said unto him, how canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with me?
So she playing on his emotions. You know you can't overpower him. You're not going to. Even a normal man is very unlikely for her to overpower him, but even more so with Samson. So now she said, well, okay, I can't get to his his strength. I can't get to him physically, but I'm going to get to his mind. Go ahead.
Thou hast mocked me 3 times and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death.
So she said, you haven't told me where your great strength lies. So she pressed upon him daily. And it, again, doesn't say how long of a passage of time that was. She might have asked him 2 months. Hey, how, man, you're so strong, you're so powerful. How does it happen? Well, if you tie me up with new ropes, it might have been 2 months to go by. He's not even thinking about it no more. She get him and he snap it off. So now it says that his soul was vexed unto death. Just every time she saw him, she's pressing upon him. Tell me. You don't really love me. You don't care about me. That's messing with. He like, all right, go ahead.
Verse 17, that he told her all his heart and said unto her, there hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto the Most High from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man.
So why he told her? Maybe he was just so tired. He was vexed. He said, man, she kept pressing upon me. But either way, eventually he finally told her. He said, look, I've been a Nazarite. If my hair gets cut or if I get shaved, that's it. Go ahead.
Verse 18, and when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come upon this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came upon her and brought money in their hand.
So they was ready this time. First, they was like, okay, I know this is the one. They came with the money. They was like, all right, cool. Here go your money. Step back. Go ahead.
And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him.
So he was asleep on her knees. He was very comfortable. Obviously in an embrace that she knew what she was doing. She got him hella comfortable. He sleep, shaved his head while he was asleep. Go ahead.
And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as at other times before and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him.
So Samson got up, business as usual. He like, all right, I already know what's about to happen. It's about to be a battle. But he didn't even know the Spirit of the Most High was gone. Most High was staying with him as long as he was a Nazarite. But now that he separated himself, Most High wasn't there with him. So they got him. Go ahead.
But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house.
That old, you probably see it more on cartoons and TV than we ever see it in real life, that wheel they have you just walk around, you just grinding all day. So they just had him in prison. They put out his eyes, which obviously, they stabbed him out, and then they just made him work. Miserable existence. Go ahead.
Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven.
Long enough for his hair to grow. Go ahead.
Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto the Dagon their god, and to rejoice. For they said, our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, our God hath delivered into our hands and our enemy and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport. And they set him between the pillars.
So he was just entertainment.
Man.
Samson was a trophy at this point. Everybody, because he was infamous. Everybody knows. How could you not be known of one man who slew 1,000 people with the jawbone of an ass? How could you not be known? Oh, that's the guy that they sent 3,000 men of Judah just to go talk to him. Oh, that's the guy that, destroyed all the vineyards of the Philistines. So they was like, man, they got one up on him. They finally got him, and now they're parading him around. Everyone wants to see him. They holding a party. They bring Samson out to be entertainment. Everybody knows who he is. Go ahead.
Verse 26, and Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them.
So he's like, man, I'm tired. Where's the biggest pillars in the house that I can just lean on them? I'm just let me at least give me this. Go ahead.
Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport.
So it said all the lords of the Philistines. So the men that set him up, they were lords of the Philistines. Everybody was there. Go ahead.
And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord thy God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once to the Most High, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my two eyes.
He said, Lord, just do me this one thing. Like I can hear the voices, I can hear the sounds. I know they in here. He said, Most High, just come back to me for this one time. Go ahead.
And Samson took hold of the two middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which was borne up of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. And the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life.
So, I mean, goodness. After all that work and after everything, all praises, at least Samson got to be able to be avenged of his enemies. He got to be able to take out some of our enemies prior to his death. But it said in that one act that he did, he killed more people in that one night than he did his whole life.
Man.
Crazy. Go ahead.
Let that sink in.
Man.
Come on. All right, verse 31. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the burying place of Manoah his father, and the judge Israel 20 years.
And he
judged Israel 20 years.
Con. So, I mean, there are plenty of spiritual lessons to take out of this, but obviously this is more based on a historical aspect. But like I said, take into consideration, first and foremost, this wasn't even the last time we went into captivity. After, every time the Most High had given us the opportunity to be reconciled unto him, Israel took that opportunity to also do evil. And, you had examples like Samson, even him being a Nazirite. The scriptures speak about how important a Nazirite was. But look how our people were moving in that time. This man, being a judge and a Nazirite, slept with a harlot, the honey that came with a carcass. So the Most High was like, look, I'm going to use you to be a purpose for Israel. I'm going to use you to still do some good. It's not like you just going to be, because you're still of my chosen. But he may not be chosen. He may not be. Well, nah, I'm gonna leave it at that. He may be chosen because he's an Israelite, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was going to be a righteous and upright man. But even despite that, the Most High said earlier when he was looking at that Philistine, what? Most High sought an occasion against the Philistines. So maybe he wasn't the most upright, but in his life he killed that 1,000. He killed the 30 when they defrauded him for the garments, and then at the end of his life, after all of that, he killed more people in that one night than he did in his whole life. So the Most High will find a way to find occasion, or will use you for that purpose. But that don't mean necessarily, that like I said, that he was righteous. And I know the reason why I bring that up is there's been a lot of questions. People ask that question. Even I had those questions, like, why is he mentioned if he's not a perfect example? Well, that's the Most High can use you. Most High can use you, and you may not get the kingdom. You may not be that worthy sacrifice or counted as those first fruits, but you were still a use in Israel. And so that's something to consider and something to, meditate on. Do you have anything you want to bring out?
That's it.
That's it?
That sums it up, though.
Well, with that, Israel, tune in Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, 7:30 p.m. We have room for 144. Saturday, Bishop T's going to go in. I ain't going to do the whole spill like Daraj do, but those are our upcoming classes. Be sure to tune in. A lot more edification, a lot more lessons, and scriptures coming at you. With that, we'll say shalom.
Shalom.